Act 1. The Arrival. Emma and David, a couple in their early 30s, are seeking a peaceful life away from the city. Emma, a schoolteacher, and David, an architect, have decided to move into an old Victorian house in the countryside that David inherited from his late aunt. The house is grand, but in need of renovation, and they plan to turn it into their dream home. Upon settling in, they start discovering strange things about the house, particularly the attic, which was sealed off for decades. One evening, while exploring, Emma stumbles upon an antique, lifelike porcelain doll hidden in a dusty chest. David, feeling an instinctive unease, tells Emma they should leave it behind, but she's drawn to its vintage charm and insists on keeping it. Act 2. The haunting begins. Soon after the doll is brought into the house, small unsettling occurrences begin. Objects are misplaced, doors creak open on their own, and the couple hears faint whispers, which they dismiss as the house settling. Emma finds herself inexplicably drawn to the doll, even placing it on a special shelf in their bedroom. As the days pass, Emma's behavior becomes more erratic. She starts having vivid nightmares, always featuring the doll. She talks to it in secret, acting as if it's alive, and becomes increasingly distant from David. In one intense dream, she wakes up to find the doll sitting on the bed, staring at her with its cold, glassy eyes. Disturbed by Emma's growing attachment to the doll, David starts researching its origins. He learns that the doll was once owned by a woman named Elizabeth Blackwood, a famous medium from the late 1800s who conducted seances in the very house they live in. It's rumored that Elizabeth imbued the doll with dark energy after losing her child. The doll is said to contain the restless spirit of her child, and over time it began to possess those who came into contact with it. Act 3. The doll's influence. Emma starts to experience blackouts, losing hours of time. She begins writing strange symbols and phrases in her sleep, all connected to the occult. David notices changes in her personality. She becomes cold and distant one moment, overly affectionate the next. At night, she often sits in front of the doll, staring into its eyes as if in a trance. The house itself begins to react to the doll's presence. The whispers grow louder, shadows dart across the walls, and lights flicker violently. Objects are thrown across rooms, and the doll is often found in places they didn't leave it. David grows increasingly desperate as he tries to break the doll's hold on Emma. Emma's possession worsens. She speaks in voices not her own, displays unnatural strength, and begins carving symbols into the walls. The doll is slowly taking control of her body, using her as a vessel to fulfill its dark purpose. She attacks David one night, but he narrowly escapes, locking her in the basement. Act 4. Unraveling the curse. In a frantic search, David finds an old journal in the attic, left behind by Elizabeth Blackwood herself. It reveals that the doll is a conduit for the spirit of her child, and once the spirit fully inhabits a human body, it will be free to wreak havoc in the living world. The journal describes a ritual that can sever the connection between the doll and Emma, but it comes at a cost. David must destroy the object Elizabeth cherished the most, the doll. David prepares for the ritual, setting up a protective circle as described in the journal. However, the moment he begins, Emma, now fully controlled by the doll's spirit, escapes the basement. A terrifying chase ensues throughout the house, with Emma displaying inhuman speed and aggression, her eyes glazed over like the doll's. David narrowly avoids her attacks and makes his way to the attic, where he lights a fire and begins to burn the doll. As the flames engulf the doll, Emma is thrown into violent convulsions, and the house itself seems to come alive. Windows shatter, furniture flies through the air, and the whispers turn into agonized screams. David holds onto the ritual, knowing that if he fails, the doll will take Emma forever. In a final, terrifying moment, the spirit of Elizabeth's child appears in a ghostly form, trying to stop him, but David throws the doll into the fire. Act 5. Aftermath. With the doll destroyed, the house falls eerily silent. Emma collapses, and the spirit's grip on her body vanishes. David rushes to her side, and she slowly regains consciousness. However, she remembers nothing of the last few weeks, and the memories of her possession remain fragmented. The final scene takes place a few days later, as Emma and David prepare to leave the house. Just as they are about to lock the door behind them for the last time, Emma notices something strange. The old chest, where she found the doll, has mysteriously reappeared in the corner of the room. Curiosity overtakes her and she approaches it. The audience sees her hand hesitate as she touches the lid, and then cut to black. Themes and cinematic styles are psychological horror. The focus will be on Emma's gradual possession and David's growing fear of losing her, blending supernatural horror with psychological suspense. The haunted doll serves as a symbol of suppressed trauma and unresolved grief. Elizabeth's loss of her child. Atmosphere. The house itself will play a major role in building tension. Dark, claustrophobic spaces, flickering lights, and eerie sound design will create an oppressive atmosphere. The camera will frequently linger on the doll, giving the audience the unsettling sense that it's alive and watching. Character-driven drama. The movie will emphasize the emotional bond between Emma and David, with their relationship deteriorating as the doll's influence grows. David's helplessness and guilt over his inability to save Emma will add depth to his character, making the stakes feel personal and tragic. Twist ending. The ambiguous ending leaves the audience questioning whether the doll's evil has truly been vanquished, hinting that the curse may still linger within the house.